In setting up the throttle deactivation mix I wanted to do for all the planes for fuel, whether or not they're glow or gas, I was looking at the Stearman model and went ahead and did it. And then, oh yeah, I have all these switches are being used because of the complexity of this model, I guess you would call it. Basically, I use the slider switch in the back here on the left hand side to adjust the flow rate of the smoke oil pump. So that's being used. The top larger switch is my idle up and idle down that I use on all my planes, except electrics, of course. But I get a flying idle and then I got a landing idle. Makes the engine run a little bit better for landing, of course. This top switch is normally used for gear or smoke oil, so that's being used a lot of times, and on this model it is. The switch here I use for rudder dual triple rates. This switch here I use for elevator dual triple rates. These two knobs I don't use in general. This switch here is for my aileron triple rates, and then this switch here is normally used for flaps. Now it is. I made today, I was making adjustments and I put all the planes to use this for flaps, so it makes life easier. But with this model, this is used for my fuel pump. The Stearman has an electronic fuel pump on it to help the engine run more reliable. So that switch is out. This switch on my gas planes is used for electronic kill, and this one here on spring loaded is used for throttle kill on all my planes. So I can shut the plane off if it's gassed this way or electronically. So the other switch I don't use in general is this slider switch on the right. So once I realized I really couldn't do the what I wanted on the Stearman by using one of the normal switches, we'll call them the switch switches, I decided to give it a shot with the right slider switch in the back here that I just did. That's me doing it. So I went to the program mix, and I do have a mix for my smoke pump on that other switch, so there's no way to name it smoke pump, so it still says gear because that's the switch's default. I then did the throttle mix to deactivate the throttle switch. So what I did was the same thing as before. You set your settings to -100 for the top and low end of the throttle stick, and then you do -100 also for the y-axis. So that has to be done still. But basically I changed the switch to RS, right slider. So you still had to activate it from inhibit, and right now it's in the off position. So the mix is off. So, and now it's on. So what's different about this is you go into the right switch, you see the hardware selected switch, and then you select that. Oops, I can do it because it's already selected. But when you go to the on and off section, you'll see a different looking slider that tracks with your position of the switch when you're sliding up and down. I have it set for normal, which is off on the top, on the bottom. what I decided to do, and the mode is linear, so you hit the set button, and that's where you're going to be off, and you see how it's filled up all the center. So all this is going to be off, and that's going to be on. What I decided to do with all the planes, since what I did was switch everything over to this slider, including the electrics, was to have the very top end of the switch as being the off. So you have to push it all the way up, not somewhere around here or anything. You have to push it all the way up. I didn't make it all the way up, but close enough to be off. So now the mix is off and it's on here. So anything from all the way on the bottom to basically 3/4 all the way up, the throttle won't work, and it will only work until you get off. So to repeat that, basically what I'm doing is putting the control of the mix or the motor on the RS switch, and the interface for on and off looks different. Okay, so you just pick the region you want it to be off from that on up by your switch here. I'm moving it in the back, and then you just hit the set button. Now if you wanted to be reverse, you can have it on up top and off on the bottom. So I want it normal, off. Okay. Now that being said, we can go to the servo screen. Number 3 is your throttle, and you'll see it moving from -100 to 110. That's what's working on the Stearman on the radial. And then if I move it down, it basically doesn't move at all. There's a slight movement on the top end, and I think that's about 3 points. It's all to do with the throttle up, down, your throttle cut. So it takes an average of the bottom line. But as soon as you activate the throttle switch, it goes all the way from plus 110 up to down to -100. So if I'm at full throttle, hit it by accident, I'm off. I'm at -97 on the scale as opposed to 100. So if anything, which I have to try, and it seems to happen on all the models, it's a little off on the top end when it's deactivated. It's just going to go just above idle. So that will be idle, and that will be full throttle with it turned off. So it's just going to go up a little bit. Some do it more than others. Like I said, I think it's just a average due to the other functions that you use for throttle. Idle up, idle down, and your throttle cut. So still safer. So if I want to use the throttle, I push the switch all the way up, and now I have it. And then if I want to move the plane around and all, and not worried about bumping the throttle, it's set.